Welcome to the second hour of this morning. Here are today's headlines. At the parliamentary audit of the Health and Welfare Committee yesterday, Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency Commissioner Chung Eun-kyung reaffirmed her intent to continue the national influenza vaccinations program, citing the importance of a timely inoculation and the lack of direct evidence that shows a causal link between the deaths and the administered shots. Due to worries of a possible twindemic, vaccinations started earlier this year but experienced a delay due to various complications with the vaccines. KDCA commented that vaccines will only prove to be effective during the flu season if vaccinations are completed by early November. As of yesterday afternoon, a total of 28 people that received flu vaccinations have passed away. Over 100 conservative opposition party lawmakers motioned a bill to appoint a special prosecution and probe into corruption of politicians and investigation agencies allegedly involved in the Lime Optimus hedge fund fraud. They are demanding to designate 30 prosecutors and 60 public officials to work for the special prosecution, which is 1.5 times larger than the size of the special prosecution on the Choi Soon-sil case. The ruling party called on these conservatives to stop stalling time to protect their own party members with a political show and instead cooperate to establish an independent body for investigating high-ranking public officials known as 공수처. The OECD projected migration into its member states will hit the lowest this year in its International Migration Outlook of 2020. Due to lockdowns in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, East Asian and Oceanian countries saw the number of newly issued visas and resident permits plummet to nearly half the number on year. Canada, Norway, Spain, Sweden, and the U.S. saw the biggest increase in the unemployment rate among migrants in that order. Finally, Pope Francis became the first pope to publicly endorse same-sex civil unions. In a feature-length documentary, Francesco, the Pope discussed the issues he cares most deeply about, from the environment and poverty to inequality and discrimination. And he said homosexual people have the right to be in a family, and called for a civil union law so that same-sex couples can be legally covered. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres welcomed the endorsement and called it a, quote, very positive move, according to Reuters. And you can get these headlines and more by going to our YouTube channel. Just search for TBS eFM. Once there, you can click on the headlines link and receive subtitles and a script as well. Coming up next, we have the Thailand protests, coverage against the country's monarchy, as well as some analysis on the Nigerian protests against police brutality and wider calls for reform.